Some weird sound. Did you take that background picture, Dan?
Yeah.
Did you take the picture, or is it a bit of a standard one you get given?
I found it 2 minutes before this to
I wonder. Oh, yeah. 13 people are here. Perfect.
yes.
Amazing. Hello to everyone as you come in. We will give everyone just another minute or two to jump in before we get going for the day, for the session.
The thing with Zoom, you can't see people's faces.
I know. I had a really good look at the settings trying to fix that before.
That's all right. Just stops me saying my usual jokes and gags because I can't get the reaction I'm after.
There we go. Look at that. We got a smiley face, a laughing face. Better react.
That was a pretty low quality joke, though, if that's what it was for.
Cool. I reckon that's us.
Good go.
Yep. Let's go.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Lovely to, well, I can't see you all. Wish I could see you all, but lovely to have you all here. My name's Kevin. I'm the founder of HeyPenny, and I'm so grateful that you gave up your lunch hour to come and hear about us and the longitudinal study we're doing with Fick University. On the call today, we've got Dr. Dan Langerud and Danielle Hemrick, who I'll get to introduce themselves in a minute. But yeah, a little bit about me. I founded HeyPenny about 2.5, 3 years ago after running a successful trial in the workplace for bringing a more human-led approach for capturing insights from employees and just relying on that general survey stuff. And then since then, for the last 2.5, 3 years, we've been going really hard. And through this journey, I got to meet Dan, who will introduce himself in a second, and did a couple of lectures for him at Vic University. And then we've sort of pulled this together into a research study. And so the reason we're here today is we're going to run you through a bit about HeyPenny's approach, give you a walk through the platform, and then get a lot more deeper into the longitudinal study itself and give an opportunity if you ask any questions, clarifying what's going on. I looked at a few of the people that were joining the call today and they're new, so this might be quite new to some of you. So yeah, fire any questions through. We've got quite a few organizations that are signing up now to participate, and we are keen to get some more. So that's a bit about me. Dan, hand over to you before handing to Danielle to kick us off.
Okay, easy. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, my name is Dan Langerud. I am a lecturer here at Victoria University. I'm the one who's leading the study that we are now doing. I think Kevin actually covered most of this. My interest in this area is around the innovation space and the fact that we now have the opportunity to investigate how the psychosocial factors at work are actually linked or correspond with survey instruments that we normally use. So it's really fascinating and novel, groundbreaking, this study. So it's really looking forward to where we're going to go forward. And I think that's me, Danielle.
Amazing. Hello, everyone. I am Danielle, HeyPenny's Customer Success and Marketing Lead. I will be, excuse me, I'll be taking us through a majority of the content today. So I'm just going to have a quick touch on the study, the hypothesis that we're looking at. I am going to do a little bit of context setting with HeyPenny. I'm just really conscious that there's a few new faces on the call. There's also some customers. So for some of you, you'll absolutely understand HeyPenny. For others, it'll just give you a little bit more background around what we do. I will do a really quick platform walkthrough because we often find that answers a lot of questions that come up, and then we'll just have a good discussion basically around the study at the end and open up for Q&A. On that, if anyone does have questions, please just chuck them in the Q&A chat at any stage. Likely we will go back through and answer them at the end, but please just fire them in there, I guess, as we go. Can everyone see my screen? Kevin, Dan, relying on you guys. Yep, Perfect. Cool. So to kick off, obviously this study is being led by Dan, Dr. Dan. He's kind of the head honcho from Vic Uni running all of this, and behind the scenes on the team we do have Professor Paula Bruff from Griffith University, Dr. Hilary Bennett from Leading Safety, which I'm sure many of you have heard of or seen present, and then also Dr. Rebecca Downs from Vic Uni as well. So the hypothesis that we're really looking at in this is leader-led conversations can predict and improve employee wellbeing, engagement, and performance. So in this space, particularly around, wellbeing, engagement, and performance, we see a lot of survey use, basically to measure and to pull out qualitative and quantitative, data and information. We're really challenging that and saying, hey, look, we think conversations can actually, predict and give richer quality data around these elements such as employee wellbeing, engagement, and performance. And when leaders actually turn up for these conversations and create that space, we're also starting to improve employee wellbeing, engagement, and performance at the same time as well. So this is really what the study is kind of grounded in and what we're looking to prove through this. So a quick synopsis overview of HeyPenny. So we are a leader-led conversation-based approach to understanding the impact of work and then lifting engagement. So we are a digital tool. We wrap around leaders and really support them to connect in a more purposeful way with their team members and with their employees. How we do this is by utilising the existing one-on-one check-in process that a lot of organisations already run. We're so conscious that leaders, they're so time poor, they've got so much on their plates, and that's not really slowing down. We didn't want to add more tasks. We want to take an existing task or process and basically modernise it and make it better for the leader and for the organisation. So how we modernise it is by widening the scope of conversation to include questions around the impact of work and not just tasks alone. So yes, leaders can continue to ask about the tasks, but we get them to widen that scope and include questions such as, how is that impacting you? So for instance, if workload is a factor that's going on at the moment, help me understand how workload is impacting you at the moment. So as I've said, we really try to help leaders connect more purposefully and better understand their employees and their team members around what's making them tick. And at that organisational level, helping them better support their people whilst also pulling really rich qualitative and quantitative data that gives them oversight of their individuals, their teams, and their organisation as a whole. So our process, when we boil it down, looks a bit like this. We've got that one-on-one check-in process. As I've said, if you're already doing this, perfect. We just weave HeyPenny into it, widen the scope of the conversation. From there, leaders can either record a transcript in the platform, which is coming in a week or so, watch this space, or you can write notes, basically, which go into the platform. From there, we've got an agent that analyzes this information against a set of psychosocial factors that sit in the background. So it basically looks at the notes of the transcript and says, hey, what factors are at play for this person? And what's actually happening? Are they protecting, harming, or are they kind of neutral? From there, the agent writes really short little anonymized, unbiased snippets. It links them to one of the psychosocial factors and it categorizes them as protective, neutral, or harmful. So we know if it's helping this person be engaged, perform, protecting their well-being, or if it's chipping away at them and actually turning it into a risk and starting to, negatively impact engagement and performance. From there, all of that data is collected within the platform, and we're able, as I said, to look at data at that individual, team, and organizational level. So for organizations, we can basically start to pull out what psychosocial risks are at play for your workforce, and identify whether they're protecting your workforce, whether they're helping them thrive, or whether they're starting to kind of chip away and harm the workforce. On top of that, because we are conversation-based, and we pull that qualitative information from it, we can actually give the context that sits behind why. So not only can we say, yes, this factor is at play, we can start to show you why and give you the story that comes out behind it, basically. So in terms of annual planning for HR, health and safety, that information is really, really powerful. Now, this preparation and coaching feedback piece that sits at the bottom, this is primarily for the leaders. Leaders are really the main users of the platform. The preparation piece, we have a whole library of questions in there ready for leaders to kind of use and pull on during these conversations, just to ask better questions. The platform also suggests questions for a leader to ask in following conversations based on prior ones. So our agent will look at the transcript and say, hey, look, here goes 3 questions I think that you should ask next time based on what was discussed today. So helping that leader with continuity of conversation and maintain and build those relationships and trust over time. We also have a coaching feedback piece, which we've brought in. So leaders at the end of each conversation do also get coaching feedback based on the International Coaching Federation framework. So it kind of says, hey, look, how often did you speak in relation to the employee? Open-ended questions versus closing-ended questions. And what did you do really well? And what's like that you could maybe improve on next time, just to help deepen that relationship and just understand this person a bit better. Now, there's quite a bit of science that does sit in behind our approach. Kevin was very purposeful, I think, when he did initially design HeyPenny and the approach that this goes through. And really, first of all, is conversations are an intervention. So when your leaders turn up in this space consistently over time and they create room for employees to discuss the impact of work, they start to feel seen, they start to feel heard, and they start to feel valued. So when we adopt this approach, there is that automatic conversation as an intervention. McKinsey put out a report 2023, basically states 75% of your workforce just need a light touch in order to flourish, and that is the likes of a conversation. A further 24% might need something further, such as a resource, and we have all of that built into the HeyPenny platform, which leaders can push to employees and anyone can access at any time. Next is the psychosocial factor framework that sits in behind HeyPenny, and this is really the bedrock and the foundation of which everything is kind of built upon. So right at the start, Kevin worked with Dr. Hilary Bennett to design this. There's 4 categories and 24 psychosocial factors that sit in there. They are the most common psychosocial factors, I guess, at play today. No, they're not the only ones, but they are the most common. And right now, it doesn't really matter what organization, business, location we go to. These are coming up time and time again. They're also aligned to the ISO 45003, an international standard that sits within the space. And these are things like workload, psychosocial, safety, leadership, culture, rest and recovery, so on and so forth. What I would also say on this is we quite often hear about psychosocial factors being called psychosocial risks, and this is very much so the negative side, but what Kevin and Hilary did was they neutralized them, meaning that they could be protective and they could be harmful. So as we know, a psychosocial factor could actually be helping someone thrive, protecting their well-being, and it's just as helpful at times to actually double down on the things that are good in order to support someone and improve their engagement and performance. Lastly, systems-based change. We are very much so about fix the work, not the worker. And there's a lot of solutions in play at the moment that kind of put the onus and the responsibility on employees to actually reach out and say, hey, look, I need support, I need help, and then to actually self-develop themselves. So we've kind of flipped this. We bring the leader to the employee to have those conversations consistently. And we work on, I guess, a basis of starting to change the interactions that occur between leaders and employees and really starting to uplift the human fabric that actually shapes organizations and sits in behind everything. So I will quickly jump into the platform. Give me a wee second. And I'll do a walkthrough of that for you guys. Cool. Can everyone see that? Amazing. Perfect. So this is what the screen looks like, basically your main dashboard if you are a leader. You've got your team down here on the left, and just a quick overview basically of conversations to go for the month. I'm going to jump up to this big purple button and basically prepare for a conversation with Jessie. So as I've said, this is basically that preparation stage. We've got all of these preloaded questions which a leader can look through, change, and basically save into their little notebook, I guess, on the right hand side. Now this colorful slider down the bottom kind of represents basically well-being or the mental health continuum. If you move this down to red, someone's not doing so well, the questions actually change in relation to this. So it's just helping leaders ask better questions that are more relative to this person and how that person might be tracking. And these are all basically relative to those psychosocial factors that sit in the background. Now, once I'm prepared, I can basically move through to chat. I'm just going to skip to logging the observation for this because I'm just conscious of time. So what I've done is I've just popped in here a transcript from a demo conversation, and I'm just going to hit generate up here. So what this has done, it's kicked off the AI agent. It's now looking at this transcript and basically analyzing it against that framework of factors that sit in the background. It's saying, hey, what factors are at play for this person? Are they protective, neutral, harmful? What's actually going on? From here, it writes really short little, I guess, anonymized insights, rates them against, categorizes them against the factor, which can be changed if you think it's incorrect. And it also classifies it as protective, neutral, or harmful, again, which you can change if you do think it's incorrect. At any stage, a leader can type in here. So a leader has full control of what's going on with these at any time, and they can just trash it if they don't like it, or discard and regenerate down the bottom left if it's completely off, which I must say we're yet to see just yet. Once that's all done, you hit accept all, and then it's basically starting to log those conversations and those little insights in the system. So I'm going to go through into resources, and then from here, what's actually going to happen is the leader's going to send the employee a follow-up email that just says, hey, look, thanks for this conversation. It was great to talk about X, Y, Z. Here are some additional resources that might be helpful for you. So I clicked draft up here, and this basically, the AI agent actually just rewrote the stock standard email that we have on there relative to the transcript. So it's just trying to aid in that authenticity and help them build that relationship. Now, on the left-hand side, these are all, I guess, resources that sit in the platform. And if you want to add any of these, you just basically click add, and they will go with the email to this employee. And once I'm done, I'll hit send Jessie follow-up, and that'll go through to Jessie. Jessie will just get a notification email that says, hey, look, you've got new stuff to look at in the HeyPenny platform. None of this information ever leaves the platform. Now I'm going to click recommend, and this is basically now going to look at that transcript and give me 3 questions I think 3 questions the platform thinks I should ask this person next time. Again, just helping with that continuity, building those relationships, so on and so forth. Now those questions there, when I go to prepare for my next conversation with Jessie, they will show up in the preparation screen. So they'll already be sitting there ready to go. And then lastly, the coaching feedback piece. So again, AI agents going and looking at that transcript and saying, hey, look, how often did I speak in relation to the employee? Open-ended questions versus closed-ended questions. And what's a couple of things that I've done well, but that I can work on next time just to help deepen that relationship. So we're helping leaders, I guess, turn up and be better coaches, understand their people, and just navigate this space a bit more effectively. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to send that follow-up email, and all of that's saved. Now, I'm going to quickly just jump in here and go into what we call an org admin view. This is basically a view for the likes of, I guess, HR, people and culture, health and safety, or an executive, and you can see the entire organization. And this is where you start to get that first overview of what factors are at play and what's going on. So anything that we see here in the green, work relations, support, reward and recognition, these are things that are basically protecting your people. These are positive psychosocial factors. Unfortunately, anything in the red, these are things that are starting to harm or starting to chip away. So we're starting to highlight which factors are at play and which way they're starting to swing. From here, we can go down and actually drop into the factors and have a look at all of the qualitative feedback that comes through in relation to the factor. And this is honestly like having a window into the organization. This is the context and the story that sits behind the factor. So in regards to the study, basically org admin would have access to this the entire time and start to see some of these real insights coming through. Lucky last thing, I'm just going to jump in and have a look at, this is what we call our timeline graph, our longitudinal timeline, and it's a way to look at factors over time and see how they're trending. So I've just clicked into rest and recovery. The blue line here is protective insights that have come through, and the red line is harmful insights that have come through. And what these little numbers are at the top, these are, I guess, initiatives or events that have occurred. So we can see in March, we had 2 new staff start. In April, we had a staff injury. In June, there was new equipment installed. So we can start to see how these types of, I guess, environmental impacts are actually affecting someone's wellbeing, engagement, and performance. We can also start to overlay ROI measures such as EAP usage, absenteeism, turnover, EMPS, so on and so forth. So we can really start to build out that full picture of just what's going on and how it's impacting the wider organisation and how well it's actually doing. And I'll just quickly jump into the lucky last slide on involvement in the study, and then we'll open up for Q&A. Cool. Can we see that one? Amazing. So what does involvement look like? Yes, your leaders will need to hold monthly check-in conversations, basically with their employees. For organisations, we're really hoping for around 50 to 120 users across the platform. For larger organisations, we've got a few coming on board, and for them it really looks like a department, or I guess a unit, not the entire organisations. For someone who is in a smaller organisation, it might be half the organisation or potentially the entire. So we're flexible around this. We're really looking for that 50 to 120 total users, and the leaders holding those monthly check-ins. 6 months free access to HeyPenny for all of the users, so that's the leaders, the employees who can see their insights, and then also for the org admin users who have that overarching view. Free upskilling session for leaders. So when HeyPenny onboards organisations, there's I guess an upskilling session right at the start for leaders. This is usually about 2 hours. First 45-50 minutes is theory, looking at psychosocial risk, wellbeing, just how to hold these conversations, what questions to ask, just how to navigate the space. We then move in, get everyone to actually log into the platform, pair them up. They hold check-in conversations in the room, just with each other. They log it in the platform, and then we can actually look at the aggregated data in the room, basically. So that's how we teach them to use the platform. A free executive level report at the 6-month mark. So this is for each individual organisation, and this will basically pull out their top 3 or 4 protective factors, top 3 or 4 harmful factors, and then the key themes that are actually coming through in those factors. So just helping you guys understand what's happening, and then also you can use this report to communicate wider within the organisation. Lastly, 3 surveys prior, during, and post. This is really for Dan's side of it, or the research side, just tracking certain criteria and measures across time, so we can actually, I guess, quantify what's actually happening and better understand it. And that's it. Penny, for your thoughts, questions. I'll open it up.
Dan, do you have anything more to add on about your side with the longitudinal study?
Yeah, sorry, Dan. Anything else to add?
No, I'm nothing that I can think of right now. I'm curious if there's any questions to answer. Now with the study, it will be interesting to see the relationship between those check-ins and the survey results, because on the first level, we find a correspondence between that, so we can just see if there is any relationship. But longitudinally, like, we can actually look into whether or not they are following the same trajectories. So what people are reporting in conversations, whether or not that is actually captured similarly in the surveys, and whether or not there's a divergence or a convergence between those will be very interesting. So, and that will also, of course, help us tell us a lot more in terms of the value of conversations like this and how it can help the organizations.
Kevin, I've just had a question come through. We've had 2 actually, so I'll put this out to you. How are check-in conversations recorded, and how do staff feel about being recorded if they are?
Ah, sweet. So there's a few ways for the information to capture, and so let's say I have a one-on-one interface with Danielle. I was just taking some bullet point notes, putting it into the platform, and then generating it from there. So the platform is fully capable just to take it for some sort of raw bullet point notes. The other way is if we're on a Teams call, Google call, and I pull the transcript from that and then copy and paste it into the platform, or ideally that within the platform there's a sort of recording feature where we could just click on that and it's pulling the transcript straight into the platform. It's then getting analyzed by the agent, and then it's getting deleted. So it's really like in and then analyzed and out. The employees, it was the second part of the question, how the employees feeling about it.
Yeah, how do staff feel
Yeah,
about being recorded if
it's
they are?
becoming quite accepted practice. If you think, imagine going to your GPs at the moment where the doctors ask you if it's okay to record the conversation, so allows them to focus on it. And that's really where we're coming from, allowing the leaders to focus on the conversation. What we are finding with employees that we're onboarding is those initial 2 or 3 conversations, they quite often talk about the systems level issues or what's going on at systems level. And then once you get past that 3rd, 4th, and 5th conversation, it becomes more about them. And that's that trust building up. Because in the platform, what Danielle didn't just quite touch on was there's the employee persona as well, where the employee has access to see the insights that are captured about them. And so it starts providing that transparency. And that's where the really trust starts to build there. So yeah, initial trust needs to be built into the system, but we make it very clear during the onboarding around how we carefully manage the data. And of course, the employees always got the ability to say, especially at the beginning, that they're not accepting a recording or the transcript, but we have yet to have any employees not do that. It's just not come up yet, which is good.
I've got another question here in the chat. So how would this be different to existing leadership development tools, such as 360, Big Five, etc.?
I can probably start on that one. In terms of Big Five, we know that like the factors there, we link them to leadership, but they're very broad. For example, high on extroversion makes you a better leader. That's not true. High extroversion is generally people who are highly extrovert tend to be put in positions of socialization, meaning that they are in situations of where they be assumed to be a leader and they're trained over time. So in those tools like the Big Five, for example, it's more like indicators on broad factors, whereas in the HeyPenny, why I was really interested in this was because it was so specific around what are the specific variables that comes to play here. There's also for the 360 as well, 360 on paper and in concept sounds really good because you get like a view from stakeholders that are reporting to you, people who oversee you, and people on the same level as yourself. But the tools themselves, based on research, are not that strong at developing leaders because there's a lot of more X factors that comes in these relationships. And these X factors that we're talking about here is where we hope that figuring out how we can have more granular factor structure, as HeyPenny has, with 24 different sub factors in these conversations, that they will be more specific and more detailed in terms of what are the areas of improvement. And also, lastly, sorry, I know I'm hugging the screen here, but allowing for, in tools like this, you're actually allowing for employees to talk and come with their stories, right? Because very often in conversations in this situation, for many different reasons, it can often be about either leaders confirming the views of their employees, or it can be about them actually hugging the talking space. So by HeyPenny, you flip that around and you allow for employees to come to the table, so to speak. So that would be my answer to that question.
Yeah, can I just build on that a tiny bit with the 360? So again, I've been in leadership for 10 odd years now, and I've had a few of those sort of 360 sessions where the whole team give you feedback on your leadership. That's different to what we're doing in this space. So that's kind of that's going out to the employees, my direct reports and others in the organization to go, what is my leadership style, right? That's not what HeyPenny is doing here. It's really trying to understand how is the work impacting the employee? So this is focusing on them and how they interact with the environment. And so if you think of culture, I'm trying to differentiate for you. So if you think of tools like Culture App, they're an engagement platform, and then they've got a one-on-one feature that focuses on the tasks. Again, linking tasks to general OKRs and that sort of stuff. That's not really going to shift the dial on how you get an employee more productive or what's working for them. So understanding the environment there, and that's where we're sitting right in there.
Yes. Can
we have a lot of questions coming through, so I'm conscious we should probably move on from that one. Sorry.
Yeah, but that's where the follow-up on this one is really good. That Boaz says there may be reluctance for team members to participate if they consider themselves being put on the spot during this process, so to speak. How could we sell this as an approach? Perhaps make the focus on leader training? And I would say that we actually flip that around. Like once you start with the language of selling it to the employees and getting their buy-ins on this, it becomes more transactional. But remember, this is supposed to be natural conversations. So the fact that one thing that I know that HeyPenny is doing is that they prompt the leaders on the previous conversation that they had with their employees and some suggestions on how to approach this new conversation. So you get it. It's about making it natural to see the employees in these conversations. If that's particularly around the team member part.
Yeah. I'll quickly. Do you want to go, Kevin? I'll quickly add on this one, and then we'll scoot because we've got so many questions coming in now, which is amazing. So in terms of just selling this approach, I think particularly to employees, there is quite a big change management piece that we kind of work with organisations on in terms of just getting employees understanding what this is, why we're bringing it in along with leaders. For employees, it's really it's a way to better support them. In terms of giving them space for these conversations. When a leader consistently turns up every 4 weeks, every 6 weeks, and gives an employee space to talk around what's going on, they will start to feel heard, they'll start to feel seen, and they'll start to feel valued. So that it is a support mechanism for employees, not just trying to pull data and information from them. When that occurs, we're seeing growth in trust. And when it comes to high performance teams, if you're familiar with Simon Sinek's work, trust is just one of the core factors that needs to be there in order for teams to really thrive. So there's a big supportive element that we talk about with employees. And then for leaders, it's a way to better understand them and not just be task focused, to support them. And as I've said, we're really not trying to add tasks to their plate, just make existing processes better. We'll jump into the next question here. So what specific leadership behaviours or outcomes does the platform aim to improve?
Do you want to pick this one up, Dan, or do you want me to give a nudge?
You go, Kevin.
As far as the leadership behaviours, it's really pulling up that softer skills, the coaching skills for them and building those relationships. So we're able to really sort of drive into that area. The fact that after, especially if you're using that transcript functionality, that you're getting those micro bits of feedback after conversation. So you can imagine where we take that, instead of just looking at one conversation individually, you can hit a button and then look over my last 10 conversations. What were my strengths and what were my weaknesses? And so you can start focusing on them. From like the HR or L&D sort of role within the organization, they've got 100 leaders looking across their organization, what are collective strengths and collective weaknesses. So at a development point of view, you can get real targeted with where you apply those skills. Where this really comes back to, for me, if you're familiar with that old 70-20-10 of how like skills are actually absorbed. So like for leaders, you get a 10% uplift if you go along to workshops, day courses. You get a 20% uplift for getting coaching. But the real magic happens at that 70% when you're applying those skills on a regular basis. So just regular applying, stretching in a safe space is going to really sort of allow you to develop those softer communication areas, which, again, from all the researchers out there, we're going to spend a long time developing our good technical skills, technical leaders, managing projects. We've been missing the softer skills, and by the introduction of all these engagement tools and surveys and apps, we're not allowing leaders to get stretched and adapt into this space. So this is an opportunity to really build the soft skills, and we can measure that as well. Dan, anything to add, or is there more questions?
No, I think you covered it. I think that was good. That's a good answer. Many questions.
Next one. How long before you have seen improvements in the psychosocial factors with existing users?
I can touch on this one. So again, we've been working very closely with Dr. Hilary Bennett. And so in her opinion, when organizations have been on this for 6 months, which is absolutely ideal timing with the study, you start getting, remember I talked about those initial conversations are quite systems level issues and challenges and what's working well coming through, then it gets to personal. So then you can start really starting to rely on the information a lot more. So we say about that 6-month mark, you'll see them build up. But after that 6-month mark, you can really get the confidence in everyone using it. Anything to add, Dan?
I agree.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect. All right, next. Does the platform integrate with existing tools, Teams, Outlook, HRIS?
So the future features, yes. At the moment, like you'll be able to record the transcript straight into it. So you could, so if we were on a call now, if we were on a virtual one-on-one, I could have the HeyPenny platform up and the conversation just coming direct into that. We're building in the capability for API tools to do those links. So if you've seen how we map the data back to your productivity measures, absenteeism, staff turnover, monthly revenue, we will be able to put APIs in there so that just does that automatically. So we're working on it, almost there. We've got that plan. It's in place.
It's coming. It's on the roadmap.
On the roadmap.
All right. Are you able to go through how well it works if these one-on-one catch-ups are happening in person out in the community, sometimes with limited network?
Oh, great question. We've had one company who does a little bit more community-based stuff, and so if you're like I said before, you can just take some bullet point notes. So if I'm meeting Danielle, we go for a coffee shop when she's in Wellington, and we have a one-on-one there. I'll just take some bullet point notes when I get back, and that brings it in there. I've got one leader that goes out into the community and has their phone and then records it and pulls it in. But with the recording feature on the platform, you can just dial it up on your phone, hit record if both people are comfortable, and it's just sitting right there in front of you. So we're building that ability to do it in remotely.
I'd also just add on that in terms of the limited network, if a transcript can't be pulled or put in, a leader can enter raw notes as well, and they don't have to be, big paragraphs. It can be more bullet point. This is what was discussed, what's going on, XYZ as well. So that's a backup default as well. Next one, and then so there's 4 more. Okay. Can HeyPenny identify gaps such as leaders who aren't engaging with their teams?
Yes. Oh, Dan, do you want to take this one? Or I can.
You take it.
Take it again. Yeah. So at that higher level, when you've got that org admin access, you're able to then start seeing across all your leaders. And so you'll be able to go. So if you've got 5 teams, for example, you'll be able to see across all the 5 teams, and you'll start seeing which employees have got that higher level of engagement or interaction, or what are those strong factors coming through compared to others. And so that's not necessarily it's probably what we're trying to encourage is more of an opportunity to uplift, be a bit more curious with the leader, what's going on, give them opportunities to upskill themselves and build that connection. But it's allowing you with that leader of leaders. So if you're the org admin view, that insight to come in and have a look at it.
All right. Lucky last 3, which are kind of combined into one, but I'll ask them one by one. So are psychosocial hazards identified and assessed to include duration, likelihood, or consequence?
Thanks for duration. That's
Dan,
going.
You go. Kevin, you go. I feel like Dan's going to add to this.
So where that question's coming from, that's going down the real stronger route of psychosocial risk assessment. So that's really bringing in your 45,003 there. So that's that deep level where you've identified there's an issue, and then you've really got to unpick that and uncover it. Or what HeyPenny's doing, if you take that, and so that's like real target and get pointed. So if you think what HeyPenny's doing with its systems level approach, is it's going in there and essentially canvassing all the conversations through your organization to identify what areas are greatest risk or what areas are working well. And that's going to inform you where to target. So for example, if you've got, 10% of your organization started having, you're starting to see some harmful observations coming through isolated work. There's something going on. That was an obvious one, but there's something going on there that you need to sort of get in target. So that's almost like the next stage. So we're informing you where to do those psychosocial risk assessments.
Yes, so just to add shortly to that, that sits at the center of why the study is important. That's why, because we are going to verify that we can actually assess those and predict those. And my belief, of course, as an academic, is that we need to do research on it to confirm it, and that's why we have designed a study. And but we do believe, yeah.
Cool. Next one. Have you had issues with underperforming leaders not wanting to be recorded?
Underperforming leaders?
That's a great question.
Great question.
We're yet to see it.
We're yet to see it. Yeah. That's a great question.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it if leaders who don't want to participate?
Have you had issues with underperforming leaders not wanting to be recorded? It's an interesting one because the recording, because the platform gets rid of it virtually straight away once it's all processed. We hear pushback and we hear concern when we talk with organisations, but we're yet to see it actually play out. We're yet to see an employee decline being recorded or decline, consenting to AI. So I think there's a lot of nervousness out there around it, but we're yet to actually see the pushback in action, which I find really interesting. So watch this space. I think on that one.
And from a study perspective as well, here's where HeyPenny and the study might go in a little bit in different directions, because it's the study we do ask for consent from those who participate, and those who do not participate, we are not tracking those individually. So we will not know who's participating and not participating in the study. So and that might sound like people can potentially just pull up because, like you said, low performing leaders, but how many? Yeah, it will be interesting. This is something that will be really interesting to know in a specific scenario or the circumstances, because I'm trying to see the situation where this happens. A lot of people, when we know about performance, can be that they believe that they perform really well and they feel that, and they licensed what they do, but it might not be aligned with what the organization wants or what it needs. It's still, to them, is a justification for why they're doing what they're doing. So pulling out for low performance, it will be interesting to know why that would happen.
Yeah, okay. Can I just add on to that? And one of the questions I often get is around are we linking any of the data back to performance for employees? I'm going to hit on this from both employee and leader perspective. And
Can I just interrupt? Sorry, their second question actually is going where you're going. So the second question that goes with this is basically, have we had underperforming employees in a performance management process refuse to be recorded as well? So yeah, perfect. Same direction. Yep.
So I often get asked around if this links into the performance metrics and all that sort of stuff. And we're saying, no, this, I think Danielle was trying to convey this earlier on. We're sitting more on that employee pastoral care, so enabling that pastoral care as opposed to the performance measurement. So if I'm an employee and I come into a conversation knowing that what was discussed is linked back to how much salary I'm going to get, or if I'm going to have a job, I'm just not going to engage. Like I'm not going to lean in. I'm not going to sort of share and listen and talk. So that's why we're kind of sitting more on that pastoral care. And I feel that's, again, we're going to do some testing around this, but I feel that's the exact same for leaders. If this ends up being a performance tool for leaders and then micromanaging them, leaders just won't engage. So it's a tool that's enabling leaders to have meaningful conversations, enabling them to do that, pulling out those rich insights. But it's more centered around that pastoral care. How can I support an individual or my team to become a high performing team? That direction. Did that touch on the question, Danielle?
Yeah, no, definitely. That brings us to the end. There we go. Thumbs up. Perfect. That brings us to the end of today. Any final questions? We've got 1 minute to squeeze them in. But yeah, thank you, everyone. If you're interested in the study, please reach out to Kevin, Dan, or myself. You can go through the website, or that's probably the best way. If you've got our emails, email us direct. We're looking to lock in organisation. We're in the process of signing contracts at the moment. And we're hoping to have all contracts signed really in the next kind of 2 to 4 weeks. Onboarding will be starting April, moving through into June. So yeah, let us know if you're interested, and we'll work with you from there. But thank you everyone again for today. Thanks Kevin and Dan, and yeah, amazing. Enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you all.